The story opens during summer vacation when Class 2A from Hamanoa High School wakes up in a strange, abandoned building deep in a forest. Panic spreads as the students realize they are far from home and may have been abducted. One student, Makoto, immediately takes action. He tries to kick out a window, but the reinforced glass doesn't budge. His friend is startled by the sudden noise and asks what he is doing. Makoto explains he hoped to break the glass, but the iron bars make escape difficult. He announces to the class that, as the karate club captain, he is trained for this, but warns them not to get involved with him. The other students are confused by his phrasing, thinking he sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. Makoto's friend sighs, calling him muscle-headed, and advises him to pay attention to his surroundings. Pointing out the glass shards, he apologizes for his recklessness. The friend notes that breaking a window on an upper floor isn't a viable escape route anyway. Makoto suggests jumping, but his friend refuses, marveling at Makoto's lack of fear. He asks if there is anything Makoto is actually afraid of. Before he can answer, a girl bumps into his shoulder. It is Saotome Reika, the daughter of a distinguished family with assets totaling 500 trillion yen. Known for her top-tier academic rankings and fame outside of school, she has a secret fan club of boys wishing to date her. Makoto immediately hides behind his friend, terrified. His friend realizes Makoto's weakness is girls, specifically Reika. Makoto denies being scared, claiming he just can't handle them. He tries to recount a brief conversation he had with her the other day. However, Reika turns around coldly, denying she knows him or even his name. Makoto is heartbroken. His friend observes that she seems to hate him specifically. Suddenly, the door opens. A group of armed men enters, pointing guns at the students and declaring them in custody. Makoto dashes forward instantly, delivering a kick to the leader. He declares that he who strikes first wins. However, the gunman blocks the kick effortlessly, impressing Makoto. The gunman mocks Makoto, threatening to end his family line right there. He praises the boy's fearless courage, but prepares to kill him. Suddenly, someone grabs the gunman's leg, throwing him off balance. It is Reika. She complains about her long legs being troublesome and warns the men not to touch a daughter of the Saotome family. Internally, she admires Makoto's fearlessness. The gunman decides she is a hassle and points his weapon at her. He pulls the trigger. Everyone screams, but the bullet hits the floor near her leg as a warning shot. He declares she will be the first participant as a penalty and orders her taken away. He warns the others not to try anything. Makoto tries to move, but his friend holds him back, reasoning that the Saotome family influence will keep her safe. As Reika is dragged away, Makoto notices she is trembling. He realizes she protected him despite her fear. He regrets not resisting until the end and prays for her safety. Suddenly, a voice booms from the speakers. The game master introduces himself, announcing that Class 2A will now risk their lives in a death game. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, the truth is revealed. The game master is Saotome Reika herself. The entire scenario is a setup funded by her family's conglomerate. The armed men are her family butlers. She paid off the parents to prevent police involvement. A gunman, revealed to be her butler Tuju, praises her acting. Reika admits she was shaking from nerves, not fear. She asks if her plan was too grandiose. She explains the goal, to make Makoto fall in love with her, using the suspension bridge effect. By creating a situation of fear and acting as the heroine, she hopes his pounding heart will be mistaken for love. The broadcast room is covered in photos of Makoto. Reika confesses she knows everything about him, from his nail length to his likes. She admits she was overjoyed that he remembered their brief 1.3-second conversation. Tuju suggests she should just be honest with him. Reika shouts that she gets too nervous, explaining that her cold attitude earlier was a panic response to bumping into him intentionally. Tuju explains the abduction was necessary because Reika claimed she would be too nervous if it was just the two of them. He shouts in frustration, calling her a pain. Reika argues she cannot have a proper conversation with Makoto, so this is the only way to get a date. Tuju questions what she likes so much about him. She shoves him away, refusing to say it aloud. Another man announces Tuju's name, which was overheard on speaker. The students are confused, but Reika is already on the other side, desperately setting up the game. In the classroom, a student loses his temper, shouting he has had enough and doubting the gunmen have the guts to kill them. A gunman points his weapon, challenging him. The narrative reveals the guns are fake and only for demonstration. The team's priority is safety, ensuring Reika's plan to date Makoto succeeds without harm. The gunman orders everyone into the hallway. Makoto calls out Reika's name. Tuju seizes the opportunity, selecting Makoto to play the game with her. The plan relies on Reika acting like a tragic heroine to elicit sympathy. Tuju waits for her cue, but Reika ruins it by telling Makoto not to worry about her. Tuju is furious internally, wondering what the point is if she doesn't play along. Reika whispers she doesn't want to show Makoto an ugly side. Tuju calls her unbelievable. Makoto steps up, vowing to protect her. Reika gets a nosebleed from excitement. Tuju calls it unsightly. He explains the game rules. Avoid a huge 2-ton iron ball for 30 minutes. He warns they will die if crushed. Makoto takes the threat seriously, unaware the ball is remote-controlled from the broadcast room to ensure safety. The thrill is manufactured for the suspension bridge effect. Makoto extends his hand, and Reika grabs it. This is the moment she waited for. Holding his hand sends her into pure bliss. As they run, she worries about her blushing face and wonders if his heart is beating fast too. However, Makoto is focused solely on running. Reika, bad at sports, quickly runs out of breath and calls for a timeout. Makoto is confused. Embarrassed by her sweaty hand, she pulls away. Makoto, bad at romance, wonders why she let go. He urges her to keep moving. In the broadcast room, the controller sees they are tired and tries to slow the ball down. Instead, it speeds up due to a malfunction. The ball separates them. Makoto shouts to check on Reika. She confirms she is okay and secretly contacts her butlers, demanding they control it properly. The controller admits the ball is out of control and advises her to run. She panics as the ball targets her. Makoto watches tensely. She demands a solution, but her staff has none. She realizes she reaped what she sowed. Remembering it is just iron, she tries to lose it by making sharp turns. However, the ball keeps up perfectly. She wonders if it has a vendetta against her and tries to bribe it with $74,000. Just then, Tuju blocks the ball's path but gets squeezed. Reika thinks she is about to die. Suddenly, Makoto arrives and throws the massive ball into the wall. He turns to check on her, only to realize he is pinning her to the ground. Both blush furiously. Reika mutters his name. Makoto points out she claimed not to know him earlier. She tries to deny it, but realizes she has been caught in a lie. Internally, she is touched that he came to her rescue despite having a chance to escape. She honestly thanks him. Makoto blushes. Tuju interrupts, bloodied but acting casual. Makoto asks if he was worried. Tuju dismisses the concern and the blood. Reika is annoyed at the interruption of her romantic moment. Tuju declares the game cleared since the ball is broken. Makoto returns to class. His friend is relieved, but Makoto stays silent, haunted by Reika's blushing face. She returns too, thinking they were close enough to kiss. Tuju announces the first game is over, but warns another death game awaits tomorrow. The students protest. Reika smirks, planning to continue until she and Makoto are dating, though she vows to make the next game safer. Tuju explains the accommodations. Classrooms are now bedrooms, and a world-class chef is available in the cafeteria. Students can order anything, including video games. The students cheer, realizing this is better than home. The Maiden in Love's death game has only just begun. Next, the students are guided to their individual rooms. Makoto is assigned the science room, but upon entering, he finds it renovated into a space as huge and lavish as a royal palace. The next day, Makoto changes into the provided uniform. He finds it hard to relax in such a luxurious room while being held captive in a death game. He meets his friend outside. The friend mentions that everyone is fine and the rooms feel like a nice hotel. Makoto is confused by the description of normal, noting internally that his room had the real Mona Lisa hanging in it. He wonders if his room was the only one that sparkled. Reika approaches them. The narrative reveals she personally designed Makoto's suite because she loves him. She ensured it had a private bath, toilet, and perfect soundproofing. It is noted that she previously argued with Tuju about the painting, not wanting Makoto to be in the same room as a world-class beauty, but ultimately left it there. She greets Makoto, and he returns the greeting. He wonders if there will be another game since they were called out at night. His friend interrupts, noticing they are using first names casually. Both Makoto and Reika blush furiously, recalling their close encounter from the previous day. She quickly denies everything, claiming nothing happened and asking the friend to stop the accusations. The friend notes she is as cold as ever, and Makoto agrees. The speaker announces the start of the second game. Reika thinks to herself that she successfully got closer to Makoto yesterday and plans to make him even more conscious of her today. The voice explains the rules. A bomb is hidden in the school. They have 1 hour to find and disarm it, or the building will be leveled. Panic spreads through the class. Makoto suggests splitting up to search. However, Reika knows the search is futile because she is hiding the fake bomb on her person. Her plan is to be alone with Makoto, pretend to find the bomb, and use the fear of death to solicit a confession of love from him. She imagines a romantic scenario where he confesses his undying love before they die. She chases after him, but he is too fast. She struggles to keep up with his physical prowess but refuses to lose. Meanwhile, the butlers in the broadcast room lock the doors while Tuju sleeps. Makoto searches the hallways but finds nothing suspicious. He reasons that his room was the only oddly lavish one, making it a likely hiding spot. He enters his room. Reika runs in behind him, out of breath. He asks why she is there. She fixes her hair and claims it is a coincidence, agreeing the bedroom is suspicious. To ensure no interruptions, she locks the door. She pretends to look under the bed and shouts that she found the bomb. Makoto is surprised. Reika recalls the plan involves cutting a wire, believing it is a toy that will stop regardless of which wire is cut. While Makoto examines the device, she contacts Tuju via comms. She asks why the wires are black and white instead of red and blue. He yawns and says that can't be right. She insists it looks different, but assumes it doesn't matter since it is fake. Tuju corrects her, revealing the bomb is real. He explains they couldn't risk Makoto realizing it was a cheap fake, so they used a real one, assuming it would be disarmed easily. Reika realizes with horror that if they cut the wrong wire, it will actually explode. The timer shows only 1 minute and 40 seconds remaining. Tuju apologizes profusely, admitting he was too tired and made an unforgivable mistake. The original plan was to use a fake bomb to scare the students, but now they face a real threat with a 50-50 chance of explosion. The situation has become deadly serious. The butlers rush to save Reika, furious at Tuju's incompetence. As the clock ticks down, students panic in the hallways, searching desperately for the bomb. They are terrified when the men in black run past them, slamming on Makoto's locked door. One butler asks for the key, but the other admits he forgot it. The students are confused by the men's panic, but focus on their own survival, realizing time is almost up. Inside the room, Makoto notes they are almost out of time. Reika offers to make the cut herself. She urges him to run as far as possible to increase his chances of survival, arguing there is no reason for both of them to die. Internally, she accepts full responsibility for starting this game and putting him in danger. She resolves to face the consequences alone if she cuts the wrong wire. However, Makoto puts a reassuring hand on her shoulder. He tells her not to make that face and refuses to let her bear the burden alone. He insists he will make the cut, taking responsibility for whatever happens next. He assures her she has done nothing wrong. Reika feels guilty because she knows she is actually at fault. She extends her hand toward the scissors, holding them with him. She declares she doesn't want him to face it alone either and will cut it with him. Makoto thanks her. Together, they snip the black wire. However, the clock doesn't stop. With only 3 seconds remaining, Makoto tackles her onto the bed. He closes his eyes, thinking this might be pointless, but it is all he can do to protect her. He hugs her tight as the timer hits 1 second. Suddenly, the timer stops at 1 second. Nothing happens. Makoto opens his eyes, relieved they were spared. He tells her it is all right now. Reika, however, clings to his shirt. Even though the danger has passed, she cannot stop her heart from throbbing. She blushes furiously, holding him tightly. Makoto tries not to look at her and gently asks her to let go. She apologizes quickly and releases him, fully embarrassed. She laments internally that her plan to make him conscious of her backfired because she lost control of her own heart. Makoto sits down, admitting her presence was reassuring and thanking her. Reika blushes and scolds him, saying he should have run away because she would have been fine alone. Makoto questions that. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, Tuju watches the scene. It is revealed he was lying. The bomb was never going to explode. His colleague scolds him for scaring everyone, including the staff. Tuju explains that deception starts with allies. He believed that if Reika thought the bomb was real, her nervousness would make the couple more aware of each other. He asked the staff to keep this secret from the young lady. Just then, Reika appears behind him and punches him. She shouts, "Good job," while hitting him. She thanks him for forcing the situation, admitting she thought they were dead, but is thrilled because she felt Makoto's body. Tuju asks if she is thrilled or angry. Back in his room, Makoto reflects on the incident, relieved the second game ended with 0 fatalities. After the beating, Tuju asks what the next game will be. Reika declares she has an idea to make Makoto even more flustered. She turns around, revealing a swimsuit to Tuju, who is clearly amazed by the plan. Later, the students gather in the cafeteria for lunch. Makoto's friend asks what he is having. Makoto reveals he is eating curry, noting that the captors told them to come if they were hungry. He wonders why they are being so hospitable. The friend agrees, praising the delicious food. The narrative explains that a world-class chef employed by the Saotome family prepares the meals. Everything is nutritionally balanced to nurture the growth of the students. Since the family has abandoned these precious children in the game, they ensure every little detail is carefully thought out. The friend remarks that it has been peaceful for a few days since the last game. Nearby, Reika arrives with her food, laughing internally. She reflects that preparing the next death game took time, but she is confident about the one scheduled for today. However, for now, her goal is simply to eat next to Makoto. She feels their conversations have become more natural thanks to the games, so asking him shouldn't be a problem. Yet, she hesitates, hovering indecisively before sitting 2 meters away. She eats nervously, admitting this is the best she can do for now. She finds it too hard to make the first move, but hopes to sit next to him someday. She realizes she would be hopeless without the death games to force interactions. She determines that today's game will make him more aware of her so she can stay by his side forever. Suddenly, a girl approaches Makoto. She asks if he is free and invites him to play soccer. He agrees, noting it has been a while. Although he worries about surveillance, she tells him to ignore it and have fun. Reika watches with intense jealousy. She is angry that the girl sat next to him so easily when she could not. She thinks the girl is too close and too friendly. Reika freaks out when the gal asks for a bite of his food and Makoto feeds her. The organizer wonders what their relationship is. Makoto's friend comments on the scene, noting that even for childhood friends, that behavior is a bit much. Reika is horrified to learn they are childhood friends. The narrative introduces Nagahama Chichiro. She moved to the city when Makoto was in his second year of grade school, becoming his neighbor and constant companion. Known as an energetic girl who prefers playing with boys, her friendliness often leads to misunderstandings about her romantic interest. She is active in the basketball, swimming, and soccer clubs, making her well known among athletes. Reika is furious but tries to calm herself, dismissing the childhood friend threat. However, Chichiro boasts that she knows everything about Makoto because they are always together, even revealing they have bathed together. Makoto clarifies it was only when they were kids. This detail sends Reika into a panic. She realizes Chichiro has seen Makoto's sacred naked body, something still unknown to her. She considers creating a real death game solely to eliminate her rival. Makoto's friend comments that having Chichiro as a childhood friend seems fun. Makoto admits she can be annoying too. Reika, who rarely takes an interest in others, now memorizes Nagahama's name as a clear and present danger. She views the girl as her greatest enemy, but reassures herself that she controls the death game. Finally, the man in black arrives, signaling the start of the game. The narrative notes that today's game took extra preparation time and is quite ridiculous. Reika is determined that only she will date Makoto. Makoto wonders what they will be forced to do. Tuju places a spinning wheel in the middle of the room. He advises them to pray they don't get chosen and spins the wheel. Reika knows the wheel is pointless unless she and Makoto are picked, as it is remote-controlled. The man announces the participants: Shindao Makoto, Saotome Reika, Imai Ryao, and Soshikawa Umi. The last 3 names were random, but Reika suddenly panics. She realizes she didn't account for Chichiro. She regrets having so many people as camouflage, fearing that if Chichiro is picked, she will cling to Makoto the entire time. She begs internally for anyone else to be chosen. Unfortunately, the man announces the final participant, Nagahama Chichiro. Reika almost screams in frustration. Tuju instructs the participants to follow him to another room. Reika accepts she cannot change the outcome now, but insists her plan is still alive despite the hindrance. Makoto asks where they are going. The man replies they are heading to the locker room to change into swimsuits first. In the locker room, Chichiro changes, wondering why they need school swimsuits. Reika reveals her plan internally. The expectations of the death game are simple temptation. She intends to entice Makoto by wearing a risky swimsuit, understanding that showing herself off is a weapon. Reika stares anxiously at Chichiro. Noticing the stare, Chichiro approaches her. She tells Reika she is straining too much and reminds her they are both girls, so it doesn't matter. Reika is annoyed by her lack of distance. Noting this is their first conversation, she wonders how Chichiro can be so upbeat before a death game. She tells Reika not to make such an uneasy face. She encourages her, saying they will get out alive together and reminding her she isn't alone. She admits she is scared too, but believes cooperation will save them. Feeling she ruined the mood, Chichiro excuses herself and leaves. Left alone, Reika realizes Chichiro mistook her jealousy for fear and tried to cheer her up. She admits the girl might not be a bad person, but reaffirms she is still an enemy. Reika declares she is the one who will stand next to Makoto. She puts on a swimsuit she intentionally ordered a size too small, confident it will get his attention. Meanwhile, inside the room, Makoto stands in the rising water, asking what the game is about. His friend shouts that the doors are locked. The speaker begins explaining the rules. The goal is to escape the classroom by inputting a correct password into the keypad by the door. To find the password, the students must answer quizzes hidden around the room. The voice explains that the room will fill with water over time, making movement difficult, which is why they were changed into swimsuits. They have 30 minutes before the room is completely submerged. The speaker ominously implies what will happen if they fail to figure it out in time and wishes them luck. The friend notices Makoto looking thoughtful and asks what is wrong. Makoto suggests simply breaking the keypad to get out. The classmate scolds him, calling him a muscle brain for ignoring the rules and warning that breaking it might trap them forever. He asks Chichiro to stop Makoto, but she agrees with the violent plan, suggesting they break it together. The friend panics, realizing both of them are idiots. Reika intervenes, telling everyone to calm down and look for the quizzes. She retrieves one from a table and solves it immediately, identifying the 18th digit of pi. She assures them that if they stay calm and answer one by one, they can clear the game. The friend agrees, urging everyone to search. Makoto agrees with the plan. However, unbeknownst to them, Reika already knows where all the quizzes are and the answers to them. She plans to save the actual escape for the very last moment. Her strategy is to wait until the room floats and Makoto feels the danger, then use her body to entice him. She believes that if she saves him then, his impression of her will skyrocket. Makoto finds another quiz, but admits he has no idea what the answer is. He calls for Reika, relying on her intelligence. She seizes the opportunity, getting close enough to cling to him while looking at the paper. Just then, Chichiro shouts that she found a quiz over there. Makoto leaves Reika to follow Chichiro, leaving the rich girl furious. The quiz is located high up on the wall. Chichiro wonders why it is so high. Reika realizes they weren't supposed to find that one until the water level rose. Makoto notes they cannot reach it. Chichiro suggests that if she rides on his shoulders, she can reach it. Reika freaks out internally, shocked that Chichiro would suggest something so indecent. The other friends support the idea, leaving the high-up quiz to Chichiro while they search elsewhere. Reika watches in frustration as Chichiro climbs onto Makoto's shoulders. Internally, Reika fumes about Chichiro's lack of distance with men. She wonders if everyone else just treats the girl like one of the guys. However, she decides that women like this are the most dangerous because they shake a man's heart while feigning innocence. She vows not to be fooled by the tanned devil. Reika knows that if she cannot be glued to Makoto, the game is pointless. She tries to intervene but is too embarrassed to act. Chichiro retrieves the quiz successfully. Reika endures the situation until the water level rises significantly. Seizing the opportunity, she sprints toward Makoto. He asks if she is all right. She confirms it, ensuring their bodies touch. Makoto blushes and looks away. Reika smiles, thinking she finally achieved her goal of sticking to him. She hopes this makes him cautious of the other girl. Deciding it is time to end the game, Reika shouts out the code. She claims she has been thinking it over and finally figured it out. She dives into the water to input the password, thinking swimming shouldn't be a problem. However, disaster strikes. Her leg cramps badly. She realizes she cannot swim back up and begins to sink. Suddenly, Chichiro dives in and saves her. Meanwhile, Makoto swims to the keypad and inputs the code. The pipes open, and the water drains away, saving everyone. Reika lies panting on the ground. Chichiro scolds her, calling her an idiot for trying to swim when everyone knows she isn't athletic. Chichiro reminds her that in swim class, Reika never swam more than 5 meters. Reika is surprised Chichiro was worried, noting they never talked before today. Chichiro states matter-of-factly that they are friends. Reika is stunned by the word friends. She reflects that Chichiro has always been friendly and worried about her. Reika smiles and thanks her for the save. However, the moment is ruined for Reika. Chichiro immediately hugs Makoto from behind. Reika instantly reverts to hating her. The third game ends with no fatalities, but a strong rival has appeared. 2 days have passed since the third game ended. With no signs of new games, the students have been left to their own devices. In the cafeteria, Reika glances at Makoto's table, but turns away, hesitant to approach. Just then, Chichiro calls out to her, inviting her to eat with them. Reika is surprised by the offer. Chichiro insists she doesn't mind and asks Makoto for confirmation. He agrees, saying it is fine by him. Reika is thrilled to sit at the same table as Makoto. As they eat, Chichiro playfully trades her takuan for Makoto's chicken, causing the boys to joke about it being the worst trade deal in history. Chichiro reveals the group was discussing having a pajama party tonight and invites Reika. Reika asks what that is. Chichiro explains they plan to hang out in a room together. Reika is internally amazed that she can so easily arrange to be in a bedroom with Makoto at night without needing a death game. She feels it is unfair and desperately wants to join. However, outwardly, Reika declines, claiming she isn't interested and will study instead. She reasons that everyone sees her as a sheltered, distant girl, so acting friendly suddenly would be strange. Chichiro accepts her refusal and turns back to Makoto, teasing that she won't let him sleep tonight. Makoto begs her to be reasonable. Hearing this, Reika changes her mind instantly. She shouts that she will come after all. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, Tuju watches the scene. He guesses she is already getting changed because she is bored without a death game. When Reika emerges wearing a fancy dress instead of pajamas, the staff is confused. She announces she is leaving. Tuju stops her, calling her woman. Reika scolds him for his nerve. He reminds her it is a pajama party, not a marriage party. Reika counters that she wants to marry Makoto, so it might as well be. Tuju insists she looks strange and should change. She argues she wants Makoto to think she is cute. Tuju explains the point of a pajama party is to show a different, casual side of oneself. He argues that being stylish is foolish, and looking a little slovenly will score her huge points. Reika is impressed by his knowledge. When she asks what to wear, he tells her to wear her usual sleepwear. Reika refuses, embarrassed to wear actual pajamas. She asks to dress up just a little. Tuju gets annoyed and threatens to forcefully change her if she doesn't listen. Reika relents and agrees to do it herself. Later, Reika arrives at the party, extremely nervous about being seen in her usual pajamas. She wonders if wearing something with cleavage was the right choice. Just then, Chichiro enters wearing an outfit that exposes her belly. Reika freaks out, thinking she won't stand out next to such boldness. She regrets not dressing up. However, Chichiro compliments Reika's cute pajamas, praising their style. She asks Makoto what he thinks. Makoto blushes and agrees they are cute. She lights up with happiness. Internally, she thanks Tuju and vows to increase his pay. Tuju watches, exhausted by the effort it took just to get her to wear pajamas, but acknowledges that progress is progress. As the group walks to the room, they discuss that this is their first time spending time together outside of a death game. One boy suggests using his room, but Makoto says it doesn't matter. Reika blushes, happy to be with Makoto naturally, but worried about whether she will actually be able to talk to him. At the pajama party, the group toasts with their drinks. Chichiro announces they have plenty of snacks and juice. Umi remarks that since they could order whatever they wanted, he figured he should take advantage of the game. Makoto comments that he is just going with the flow. In the broadcast room, a butler asks Tuju if he is going to sleep. He decides to watch the feed for a bit longer. Back at the party, Reika asks what people usually do at these events. Chichiro suggests a Q&A session. Reika thinks internally that she already knows everything about Makoto, including his pulse rate, and doesn't care about the others. Umi insists that pajama parties must have love talk. He asks Makoto if there is anyone he likes. Makoto panics. Reika blushes, realizing this is the one thing she doesn't know about him. When he says no, Umi calls it boring. Reika is relieved she has no rival, but annoyed that Makoto is still so cautious. She wonders if she needs to make the death game more extreme to get a reaction. Umi presses Makoto for even a single letter of someone he is curious about, but he stays silent. Umi turns to Chichiro. She claims she doesn't have anyone right now. When pressed about the past, she tries to hide it, but eventually admits her crush was her preschool teacher. Umi is satisfied with the answer. Next, it is Umi's turn. He declares he only cares about his wife, naming an anime character. Makoto jokes that Umi gets a new wife every season. Reika misunderstands, thinking Umi is a playboy who alternates real wives seasonally. Makoto clarifies he is talking about anime. Reika is confused, asking how one registers such a marriage. Umi apologizes for the confusion. Reika attempts to address Umi, but gets his name wrong, calling him Kawakun, river. The group bursts out laughing because the name is incorrect. Reika blushes, apologizing that she only remembered his name had something to do with fluid. In the broadcast room, Tuju sighs, noting she is too indifferent towards strangers. Chichiro tries to comfort Reika. Umi complains that calling him Mizu, water, is adding salt to the wound. Reika laughs, hiding her face. Chichiro jokes by calling him Sora, sky. Umi shouts in confusion. Reika begs them to stop, claiming she has his name now. However, she calls him Sanzoi-kun, another water reference. Umi despairs that even Reika is bullying him. Chichiro says they are having great fun. In the middle of the laughter, Reika looks at Makoto and gives him a strange, genuine smile. He comments that this is a different side of her. Nervous, she accidentally knocks over a can of juice. Umi checks if it got on her, and she apologizes profusely. Makoto assures her it will dry quickly. She worries internally that her behavior isn't befitting a member of the Saotome family. She realizes this is the first time she has talked so much with her classmates and thinks she needs to reform herself. The group falls silent. Umi nudges Makoto, whispering that he forgot to say something. Makoto speaks up. He apologizes to Reika, but admits that until now, she always seemed cold and distant. He confesses that seeing her laugh just now felt good. Her eyes shine with happiness. She asks if he really means it, and he confirms he does. Umi thinks she recovered quickly. Watching from the screen, Tuju remarks that he never expected her death game plan to have this kind of unintended positive effect. The party continues late into the night. Chichiro and Umi chat energetically, while Makoto points out it is 2 a.m. and suggests calling it a night. Chichiro reminds him she warned she wouldn't let him sleep. Umi taunts him, challenging him to show some guts. He feels held captive by dangerous people. Reika excuses herself to go to the bathroom. Chichiro directs her down the hall. Reika steps out into the dark, silent hallway and feels scared. She decides to call Tuju on her radio. Just then, Makoto appears behind her. He offers to accompany her, noting it might be dangerous alone. In the broadcast room, Tuju discusses tomorrow's game with his staff when a butler shouts to look at the monitor. They see the young lady standing outside the washroom with Makoto. Reika thanks him for waiting. He suggests they head back to Umi's room together. As they walk, he reflects that the school building, which used to be scary, now feels pleasant. He wonders if it is the night air, the moon, or perhaps Reika's presence. Tuju notes the good atmosphere, happy that his plan is allowing her to talk to him more. Makoto asks her why she decided to join them after declining at first. He admits he was surprised and a little curious. Reika reverts to her formal persona. She claims she wanted to see how commoners live since she comes from a different world, framing it as gaining experience. This answer kills the conversation. Panicking, she whispers into her radio. She asks Tuju what she should say, worried they will reach the room before she makes a move. Tuju refuses to help. He lectures her, explaining that she fails to get closer to him because she cannot be honest. He insists that even if he gave her lines, her behavior would ruin it. He tells her to be honest with her feelings, then cuts the comms and turns off the monitors. The other butlers are shocked he cut the feed at the best part. Tuju accepts he might lose his paycheck this month but hopes she succeeds. Reika stands nervously in the hall. Makoto turns around, noting they can see the room, and expressing relief that Umi and Chichiro are still up. Reika realizes her time alone with him is over. She desperately wants to talk to him and stay together. Remembering the advice, she decides to be honest. Just as Makoto reaches for the door, she places her hand on his. She confesses she doesn't want to go back yet. He asks why she doesn't want to go back. She pulls her hand away, struggling to find an excuse to stay together longer. Finally, she mutters that she wants to go to the bathroom. He points out they were just there. Internally, Reika calls herself stupid. She recalls Tuju's advice to be honest, but finds it incredibly difficult. She realizes she wouldn't have created this death game if she could just speak plainly. However, she decides to try getting her feelings across. She tells him to forget the bathroom comment. She admits that her earlier excuse about observing the commoner lifestyle was a lie. Gathering her courage, she confesses she was simply happy when they invited her to play. She explains this is the first time she has played with classmates. She admits she wasn't sure if she could keep up with the conversation, but is grateful they took her in. She thanks Makoto sincerely. He tells her there is no need for such formal thanks. He says he was just playing with a friend and had fun too. He assures her that Chichiro and Umi feel the same. Reika is relieved and thanks the heavens. Makoto suggests calling it a night. Before she can respond, the sound of fireworks booms nearby. He wonders if there is a festival. Suddenly, Chichiro bursts out of the room, shouting about the noise. Umi suggests going to the roof to watch. Makoto worries about the men in black. Chichiro argues they aren't trying to escape, just looking from a better vantage point. Umi adds that the admins have been oddly kind, so if it gets bad, they can just come back. He grabs some snacks and drinks, noting they have been full of excitement all day. Chichiro agrees. Makoto turns to Reika, noting it seems the night isn't over yet. The four of them go up to the roof to enjoy the show. Watching Reika, Makoto reflects on his impression of her. He used to think she was always composed and avoided involvement with others. However, today, he feels he saw a glimpse of the real Reika. Meanwhile, outside the building, Tuju is drenched in sweat. Despite saying he wouldn't help, he is manually setting off the fireworks for them. He mutters that sometimes, something like this is fine, hoping the young lady is enjoying it. He jolts in fear as a firework explodes too close to him. With that, Reika's long, fun night comes to an end. The next morning, the admins are up early preparing lunch. Tuju enters and asks what they are making. The butler explains it is red rice. He reveals the young lady asked for it to celebrate graduating from an acquaintance to a friend in Makoto's eyes. Tuju agrees the milestone is worthy of celebration. However, she warns they cannot ease up now. Later, he stands before the selected students to explain the next game. He announces the start of the 10th game. Makoto notes this is the first time they have been outside, and is surprised they provided gym clothes. A girl asks Makoto for advice since it is their first death game. He suggests they should limber up, sensing they will be moving around a lot. He turns to Reika, telling her to stay close so he can protect her. Reika blushes and agrees. Seeing them ready, Tuju decides to start. He warns them to rest while they can, because this game is the most dangerous yet. He pulls a cloth from a cage, revealing a tiger. He explains it is a game of tag. Avoid the tiger for 10 minutes to win. The tiger roars loudly, and Tuju opens the gate. The students scream and run. The narrative reveals the truth. The tiger is not real. It is a costume specially customized by the Saotome family, created by a world-class doll maker. It is indistinguishable from the real thing. Inside the suit, a butler is determined not to let his hard work go to waste. He aims to provide the thrill necessary for the suspension bridge effect. The butler tiger chases the boys into a room. Since he cannot actually eat them, he plans to pretend he can't find them. However, he finds the students poorly hidden and exposed. He wonders if they want to be eaten or if his costume isn't convincing enough. Frustrated, the tiger leaves them be. Meanwhile, Makoto runs outside, checking on Reika. She claims she sprained her ankle. Makoto is concerned, unaware it is a lie. Her goal is to get a Princess Carrie to turn her desires into reality. However, he carries her on his back instead. Reika is surprised but accepts being stuck to him, even though it wasn't the romantic pose she wanted. Suddenly, she realizes she is sweaty. She freaks out, worried about him touching her sweat, and asks to be let down. Makoto refuses, saying it is dangerous if she doesn't hold on tight. Reika worries he will dislike a girl who reeks of sweat. He shouts for her to wrap her arms around him. However, feeling her body pressed so close, he becomes flustered and suggests they keep a healthy distance. Reika asks why the sudden change. Just then, the tiger appears. The tiger rolls forward, closing the distance. Makoto and Reika are pressed together, their bodies touching. Makoto thinks for a moment, then puts her down. She asks what he is doing. He turns toward the beast, stating he has played this out in his head and will be fine as long as he doesn't get bitten. He cracks his knuckles, declaring that to win a game of tag, he just has to defeat it. Inside the costume, the butler freaks out. He questions if the student really thinks he can beat a tiger. Terrified by his stance, he begs Reika internally to do something. However, before she can act, he lunges. He tries to punch the tiger, but the beast turns and flees. The butler decides to retreat and regroup. The narrative notes the irony. Originally, the student was supposed to run from the tiger, but now the tiger is running from the student. Makoto tells Reika the threat is gone and she is safe. She blushes, thinking he is incredibly cool. Meanwhile, the tiger returns to Tuju. Tuju scolds the butler, asking what happened to his bond with the expensive costume. The butler admits he is a coward. Tuju realizes there will be no thrill of fear to make Reika's plan work. He orders the butler, Nakamura, to switch places with him. The tiger appears before the couple again, this time with Tuju inside. He plans to corner Makoto and send him into a pit of despair. Knowing Makoto is strong, Tuju prepares to finish what they started. He notices Makoto looks confused. Tuju wonders if the boy lost his nerve. However, Makoto is confused because the tiger is standing on 2 legs. He wonders if tigers actually do that. Shouting that the beast saved him the trouble of finding it, Makoto attacks. The tiger dodges effortlessly. Makoto notes it is fast and has a different aura than before. He finds the boxing tiger fascinating and decides to settle this. Tuju jumps on 2 legs and they clash, fighting with fists. He finds the suit heavy but keeps fighting for the sake of the game and the young lady. However, Reika completely forgets the plan. She cheers loudly for Makoto, shouting for him to trample the tiger. Tuju wonders whose side she is on. He realizes the death game is a complete failure. However, seeing Reika so happy watching the cool Makoto, he realizes she has lost sight of her original goal. Suddenly, Tuju loses his balance. Makoto lands a punch right on the tiger's face, sending it flying. Lying on the ground, Tuju considers getting up to continue the game. However, he hears Reika shouting for Makoto to finish him and go for the eyes. Tuju decides he is done with her and stays down. Makoto declares victory. Everyone cheers for him. The 4th game ends with Makoto as the winner. Later in the broadcast room, Reika is ecstatic, gushing about how cool it was. A butler points out to Tuju that nothing went right this time. Tuju laments the wasted preparation time but resigns himself to it as long as the young lady is smiling. Reika asks Tuju if he agrees that Makoto was strong. Tuju gives her a terrifying stare. He shouts at her to spare a thought for them once in a while. Reika dismisses his anger. The peaceful death game comes to an end for the day. However, back in the classroom, Makoto suddenly faints. Later, he lies in bed in the science room while a doctor examines him. The doctor confirms it is just a cold and he will be fine with some rest. Reika is relieved, noting he collapsed so suddenly that they had no idea what was wrong. The doctor clarifies the illness has nothing to do with the death game. Someone likely passed it to him. He advises keeping Makoto isolated to recover. As the men in black exit the room, the students ask if Makoto will be all right. Tuju assures them he will recover in a few days. Umi offers to take care of him, but Tuju refuses. He states that the staff will handle it to eradicate the virus as they don't want it spreading throughout the school. He tells the students to scram. The students marvel at how nice the captors are, remarking that they sometimes forget this is a death game. That night, Reika sneaks to Makoto's room with food. She knows she should keep him isolated, but decides it is fine to tend to him for a little while. Opening the door, she is shocked to find him doing push-ups and counting to 219. Reika shouts at him, asking why he is exercising with a cold. Makoto insists there is no time to rest. He argues that the death games are physical, so he cannot let himself get weak because he must protect everyone. She gets angry, shouting that he needs to sleep. She scolds him for ignoring his body after fainting, noting he is the first person she has ever seen doing push-ups in such a condition. She orders him to sit on the bed and rest immediately. Later, Reika tells him to take off his shirt so she can wipe him down. He agrees. As she wipes his body, she checks if the water is too cold. He says it is good. She notes his body is burning up and applies a cool sheet to his arm, telling him to speak up if he feels bad. As she goes to change the water, Makoto comments that she is surprisingly used to doing this. Reika reveals that in the past, she took care of someone, sort of like a brother, who caught a cold. She explains she learned a lot then because that person was always busy with home duties and overdoing it. Suddenly, Makoto's stomach growls loudly. He is embarrassed. Reika laughs, saying it is a good sign that he is hungry. She reveals she made some porridge and asks if he would like some. She blushes, admitting she thought it might be too forward to mention earlier. He accepts gratefully. She heats the food in the microwave and hands him the hot bowl. She quickly warns him not to expect too much, explaining it was hard to cook in an unfamiliar kitchen. Makoto takes a spoonful and declares it delicious. Reika relaxes, acting haughty as she claims of course it is good because she made it. Makoto finishes the bowl quickly. Reika giggles, teasing that no one is going to take it from him. Suddenly he leans forward and collapses onto the bed. Reika freaks out, thinking something is wrong. However, she realizes he has just fallen asleep because he is full. She sighs with relief. In his sleep, Makoto mutters that he has to become strong like his dad. Reika brushes his hair gently. She whispers that he is already pretty strong, but it is okay to rest when weak. She tells him not to push himself too hard. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, Tuju listens to the news. A report states that a burglar broke into a jewelry store in M Prefecture, but was chased off before taking anything. The criminal is still at large, and residents are warned to keep doors closed. The narrative reveals that an intruder is actually hiding inside the school building. The students are assured a high standard of living during their captivity. During designated times, they can use a specially built, large bathhouse. Inside, the girls take showers. Chichiro approaches Reika from behind, offering to wash her back. Reika insists she can do it herself. However, Chichiro doesn't listen and starts scrubbing, causing Reika to laugh out loud because it tickles. Meanwhile, in the corridor, a suspicious man wearing a mask mutters to himself. He notes signs of maintenance, realizing the supposedly abandoned building is occupied. He had hoped it would be a good hideout, but realizes he has no other option now. Holding a knife, the intruder resolves to deal with anyone who gets in his way. Just then, an administrator walks past him. The intruder lunges, telling the man not to resist. However, the administrator dodges the attack effortlessly and knocks the criminal backward. Shocked by the staff member's strength, the intruder turns and dashes in the opposite direction. The administrator quickly takes out a radio and reports the situation to Tuju. Tuju confirms the intrusion and orders his team to get rid of the man before any students are hurt. Back at the girls' area, Chichiro asks Reika about her missing hair clip. Reika admits she cannot find it anywhere, calling it strange. Chichiro offers to help look, but Reika declines, saying it shouldn't take long, and suggesting the gal to head back first. Chichiro agrees, deciding to stop by Makoto's room on the way. She leaves, promising to wait for Reika. Meanwhile, Umi visits Makoto's room. He figured he should check on the patient since the isolation period is up. Observing that Makoto still has a slight fever, Umi decides to leave a manga as a gift and head back. Suddenly, an alarm blares over the speakers. Umi wonders why this is happening now, questioning if it is another death game. The speaker announces that a suspicious person is in the building. It orders all students to return to their rooms, lock the doors, and stand by. In the corridors, the staff hunts for the man. The robber made a huge mistake choosing this hideout. The men in black are elite guards of the Saotome family. Furthermore, it isn't just humans getting in his way. The robber turns around, only to find a massive iron ball rolling toward him. He screams in terror, wondering what kind of place chases people with iron balls. Tuju controls the traps remotely, steering the ball to corner the target upstairs. As the robber flees to the upper floor, water bursts from the pipes, flooding the hallway. The intruder is overwhelmed by the traps. He wonders what the hell is going on, chased by weird men in suits, an iron ball, and water torture. He questions if he has stumbled into a death game. Meanwhile, in the locker room, Reika finally finds her hair clip at the bottom of a basket. She worries about the announcement she just heard. She decides she needs to change quickly and get to her room. As she prepares to change, the robber appears behind her. He points a knife at her, ordering her not to move. Meanwhile, Chichiro and Umi open the door to Makoto's room. They are shocked to find the bed empty. He has awakened and run off despite his condition. In the locker room, the robber points a knife at Reika. He demands to know if she knows the men in black and slams his hand on the wardrobe, shouting for an answer. The narrative notes that unlike previous setups, this situation is not staged by Reika. The man in front of her has nothing to do with her plans, and what she is experiencing is true fear. The robber complains about his bad luck, but notes Reika is attractive. He grabs her towel and orders her not to resist. He rips the towel away. Reika tries to cover herself with her hands, crying in terror. Just then, Makoto arrives. He punches and kicks the robber, sending him flying. Without looking at Reika to preserve her modesty, he picks up the towel and hands it to her. He tells her simply that he is glad she is okay. Reika wraps the towel around herself, crying with relief. She reflects on how many times he has saved her. However, she notices him staggering. She rushes to support him, realizing he is burning up with fever and still isn't better. She scolds him for being reckless. The robber stands up, brandishing his knife again. He threatens to kill both of them. Makoto tries to stay alert, but Reika snaps. She shouts at the criminal for getting in her way. Furiously, she punches the man in the face. As he falls, she continues to hit him, screaming that he couldn't tell Makoto was in pain. She resolves not to be the one always being protected. This time, she decides to protect Makoto. She beats the robber until he faints. Chichiro and Umi arrive, shouting at Makoto for running off while sick. Seeing the situation, Chichiro realizes Reika is only wearing a towel. Reika slams into Umi, shouting at him not to come inside. The eventful night comes to an end, and the robber is taken to the police. Later, Reika thanks Makoto properly. She admits she was really scared, so his help made her happy. However, her energy shifts, and she speaks with a menacing voice. She warns him never to do anything reckless again. She tells him he is wrong if he thinks he can handle everything alone. Makoto smiles and agrees. He asks if she will come save him next time he is in a bind. Reika promises she will always be there for him. Makoto notices she is wearing glasses. She explains she usually wears contacts. 2 days later, Makoto is fully recovered. In the broadcast room, the staff watches him exercising. Tuju notes he has already done 200 squats, calling him amazing. He guesses Makoto feels responsible for what happened. Tuju decides that since everyone is stressed, the next event should be the world's most fun death game. Suddenly, the students wake up to find themselves in a fantasy world. Makoto is bewildered, arguing they should be asleep at school and wondering what is going on. A screen appears, explaining the current death game. They are inside an online game. He is confused, but Umi steps in to explain. He demonstrates that pinching his cheek doesn't hurt, proving this isn't reality. He deduces they were drugged after dinner because his memory cuts off there. The narrative reveals that in the real world, the students are lying in the infirmary, wearing VR headsets, their consciousness trapped in the game while their bodies remain in reality. Chichiro excitedly shows off a sword she found. She points out a dragon-like creature running nearby, thrilled by the realistic experience. Makoto is impressed by modern technology. Umi scoffs, claiming this is way beyond normal. He begins to ramble enthusiastically about the game developer and the series' history. Chichiro interrupts, calling his tendency to talk endlessly gross. Notifications pop up with the rules. They are free to enjoy the game, but the clear condition is to defeat the Dark Lord of this land. If they succeed, they return to reality. However, if they fail within half a day, the headset will emit a special electromagnetic wave to kill them. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room, Tuju monitors the situation. He thanks the man next to him for allowing them to use his unannounced game. The game owner dismisses the thanks, citing the Saotome family's request and the value of the data collected. He confirms the electromagnetic wave threat is a lie, just part of the job. Tuju worries the time limit is too tight. The owner assures him the story is shortened for testing, so the students should be able to clear it. However, the owner notices a problem. Tuju realizes Reika is missing from the group. Back in the game, Makoto notes that while everyone else is participating, he hasn't seen Reika. Chichiro and Umi haven't seen her either. Chichiro suggests she might have spawned elsewhere since they all woke up in the same spot. Umi agrees to keep an eye out as they progress. The students form parties and set off to defeat the Dark Lord. One girl recruits a boy she thinks looks weak, claiming they are otakus and good at this. Despite the activity, Reika is still missing. The narrative reveals Reika's original plan. She intended to use the game to start dating Makoto. Her strategy, called the I have got your back theory, involved parting up with him to deepen their bond by overcoming adversity while she wore a cute costume. However, her absence is a huge blow to this plan. It turns out that due to a bug, Reika has spawned in the castle. Sitting on the throne, she realizes with horror that she has become the Dark Lord. She sits there in confusion, simply asking why. The narrative explains that fixing bugs is an integral part of game design, as neglecting them leads to issues like clipping through walls or walking on air. The students are playing Pride Forest, a game still in development for 2 years. Due to slacking on bug fixes, a critical error occurs. Reika, a player, is set as the final boss, the Dark Lord. She shouts in frustration from her digital throne. In the broadcast room, Tuju yells at the developer, demanding to know what is going on and how they are supposed to make the suspension bridge effect work now. He laments that not a single death game goes right. The game owner apologizes, admitting he doesn't know the cause or a quick fix. Meanwhile, in the game, Reika decides she must meet Makoto immediately, otherwise, nothing will happen between them. She tries to stand up, but finds she cannot move. The system treats the Dark Lord as an NPC, keeping it on standby until the final battle. Terrified by her immobility, Reika looks for options. A skill menu pops up. She selects Devil Sledge, and sledges appear all around her. Excited, she begins testing her skills one by one. When she uses Devil's Gate, a screen appears showing Makoto and his team fighting. Reika is thrilled to see him, but her expression darkens as a naughty thought crosses her mind. She wonders if she could use this skill to peek on him in the bath. The screen shows Makoto's attention diverting to a girl scolding a boy. The girl complains that the boy is useless for getting petrified, while the boy apologizes, shaking. However, the girl heals his wound and encourages him, saying they must support each other. Umi and Makoto approach the pair. Umi identifies them as a sage and an archer. Makoto explains that he and Chichiro are attackers, but having only Umi, a mage, for support isn't enough. He invites them to form a party, and they agree. Watching this, Reika feels jealous and lonely. She thinks it looks like a real journey while she is stuck entertaining herself. She desperately wants to be part of the game. Suddenly, weird-looking creatures appear before her throne. They bow, asking why Her Majesty is reeling. Reika freaks out at their gross appearance but realizes they are her underlings. She tries to act the part, claiming she is unwell and ordering them to leave so she doesn't spread her cold. The monsters seem to accept this and turn away, expressing regret. Reika thinks she fooled them. However, the monsters begin whispering among themselves. They realize that if she is unwell, she cannot fight. They conclude this is the perfect chance to overthrow the throne. Suddenly, the 4 monsters lunge at Reika, shouting that they will be the next lord. She is shocked by the sudden breakdown in public order among demons. A slime monster attacks her, wrapping around her body and going under her clothes. Reika panics completely.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.